Base is dropped on soccer's morning show from the mountains for 2 more days. John here, you there. We got stuff to talk about this morning, and let's go over a little. Today, it's a normal show, and Niko Moreno comes on at 10:30 for Thursdays with Niko, where we will have green light, red light, yellow light. We'll talk about things from a Pacific perspective. One of the particular topics that we'll have to talk about is we'll talk about it twice. We'll talk about it here in the first 90 minutes of the show, and we'll probably lead with it as opening kickoff. Niko to get his thoughts on it going forward. It's LAFC. Sorry, Bam. And with what happened again last night, Houston did it again. And we'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. And Tom Russo barging in with a rumor to start the morning. Brandon Vasquez to Everton. How many followers on the Bird app for that particular individual, Tom? Tonight, it is Atlanta United 2 Soccer on the network. And it is Atlanta United 2, Columbus Crew 2. And we will be on the air 15 minutes ahead of time with the pregame show. I'll have the pregame show. Jason will have play-by-play for you from Ohio. So I think 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock kick. So just keep your notifications ready to go. So you've got us in the morning. You've got Atlanta United 2 Soccer tonight. Then on Friday morning, show's early because they're kicking us out of the cabin at 10. So set your notifications, set your alarms, do whatever you need to do. 8 o'clock. Weekend whip around. And so that's when we'll go over all of the games and get you ready for the weekend across the board. So 8 o'clock weekend whip around. And then 9 o'clock, it's normal. We'll see if Bart is awake at 9 o'clock to talk about USA and Mexico with the semifinals going on tonight from Las Vegas. And I wonder if they'll see Jack Eichel on the strip hanging. 8 to 10, our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring will be on at 9:30. 10 o'clock, we're done. And then that gets you started on the weekend. Then in turn, on Sunday, it is Atlanta United 2 Soccer again from York University Stadium on the campus of York Lions Stadium on the campus of York University. And this morning, that'll be Sunday. So it'll be Atlanta United 2 Soccer on Friday, and then again on Sunday, tonight and Sunday. So Thursday, Sunday. Thursday, Columbus, Ohio. Sunday night, it is York University Stadium in Toronto and York, Ontario. Not Toronto, it's in York. So you got 2 matches this weekend. You got 2 matches this weekend with Atlanta. It is Sunday night, and so it's a busy weekend for us here on the network. So that's your traffic for the next couple of days: Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and so it'll be a fun weekend to see the Twos on the road chasing after their first road win of the year, third in the Central Division in the Eastern Conference. So it's been fun to see. It's been fun to see the guys catch the wind in their matches, and so we'll see how they are on the road for the next 2, and you'll get those here on the network with me on the pregame and Jason on the call. Let's see. Do we want to get into it? I think we probably need to. Well, I mean, once again, Messi scored this morning in the first match of this window. The only minute apparently he has scored is the first minute. Second minute with a banger against Australia. And so we've got that just going on. And Jude Bellingham has joined from Dortmund for an initial fee of $111 million. So the stuff is out there with Jude Bellingham, and it is apparently he's done the presser with the suit coat and the suit and the flashing of the jersey. and apparently the electrodes. He's wearing his suit pants, and they've got a picture of him with electrodes attached to his chest. So Jude Bellingham is about as official as it gets. About as official as it gets going to Real Madrid. So this morning we've got fixture list is out. So we've got that. We know when Manchester City is going to be taking on Burnley, and we know all of the matches. We'll get into that as well. We've got some dude who was initially in line for a job in Liga MX who is now not, and it's because he wants his old job back. So we'll talk about that. We've got all the transfers on the board. Divisions in England. Wigan has an owner, and they do have a winding up petition from Her Majesty's Royalty and Customs, but it looks like a billionaire is going to be taking over Wigan, so they are going to start at -8 points in League One. They're going to have a tall order to not be relegated to League Two, but at least it sounds like they have an owner who is fairly stable. And we've got Henry Bushnell and others have finally reported that the Women's World Cup finally has a TV contract in Europe, signed, sealed, and allegedly, apparently acceptable numbers. For the longest time, FIFA was waiting for the determining factor in trying to sit there and go, yeah, we don't want to sign it yet because we haven't gotten enough money. Apparently, they've got enough money, and you're going to be watching the Women's World Cup at a successful level. All right, so opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And there's your QR code blocking me right in the middle of the screen. And that's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And for those of you who have enjoyed Kickoff Coffee, thank you for investing in it, and thank you for enjoying it as much as you have. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I'm checking to see, like I said, I'm late into the Twitch pitch this morning. So about Brandon Vasquez to Everton. Bam. Okay, so Bam is awake. Bam is awake. So the discussion about and once again, we are in that time of year. We are in that time of year where check your sourcing. Check your sourcing. Check your sourcing. Double check what you're seeing. But there is a tweet out there on the Bird app involving a trade, a possible swap involving Atlanta United and Palmeiras. Mateus Osechu, Edward Atuesta. And so in the discussions in the Twitch pitch that I've seen this morning between Tafka and Bam, I don't want Atuesta to take a step backward. Okay, so that's where that was when that popped up on the Bird app yesterday. I know that everybody was chasing after it. Yes, 1,000 followers. So now, talk about it now. Not sticking around today, falling asleep at his desk while having the Socceroos game on. Has anyone seen LAFC's offense? Just asking for a friend or several. The numbers now for LAFC not scoring 5 out of their last 6 without a goal. 5 out of their last 6 matches without a goal. Nick's, my guess is on Denny Bouanga is that the minutes stacked up. And, they've got Sporting on the weekend. You're talking, 4 matches in 2 weeks? So I'm guessing that the minutes just stacked up on Bouanga, and you end up with the lineup that you had last night. And, it was fairly first choice. The LAFC offense, Bam says, is currently in Gabon, waiting to play DR Congo on Sunday night. They do have an incoming. Individual. So here was the lineup last night for LAFC going up against our friends at the Houston Dynamo. Now, Houston, last time out, for those of you who remember, pretty much LAFC over the head with a blunt object. Steve Cherundolo had a 31-word press conference for postgame. It was not posted online because of its brevity, understandably so. And so then last night, as a part of all of the makeup matches, you end up with the back end of a home and home with LAFC and Houston Dynamo at BMO Stadium. So your lineup for LAFC: McCarthy at the back four, Hollingshead, Chiellini, Murillo, Maldonado, Palacios, Ilie, Dueñas, and up top it was Steve Buke, Bogusz, and Carlos Vela. And the bench you had Torres, Opoku, Aaron Long, Gaines, Jakupovic, and Danny Crisostomo. So you had a short bench last night for Steve Cherundolo last night anyway. And then you were wondering about minutes. You know, folks had played 45 the weekend before. Were they going to be playing a full 90? It was an interesting layout. Steve Buke played the full 90 minutes. Bogusz played 85. Chiellini played 70 because he did not play all that many last time out in the first leg of the home and home. Crisostomo came in, finished up Chiellini's 20. Dueñas had 70. Hollingshead played a full 90. Aaron Long played 20. Maldonado played 45. Murillo played 90. Poku played 34 until he ended up with a red card. Ordaz came in at the end, played 5. Palacios, Sanchez, Ilie, and Carlos Vela each played 90, and McCarthy played 90 as well. So the back end of the home and home. And Bam is teasing his podcast here. Bam is teasing it. So here's what's going on. Bam on his LAFC podcast at 9 p.m. Pacific time, so midnight tonight. Vela should have been on the bench for Opoku. Palacios should have been in defense for Maldonado, and Bogusz in the midfield with Ordaz in attack. So it was not good. Not good for LAFC. Shutout again. You lose Opoku for the weekend. 5 out of 6 without a goal. And it makes you scratch your head that where is LAFC right now? Where is LAFC? And, you know, LAFC, after losing to Houston twice, 5-0 in the aggregate, and Opoku's leaving. Okay, and thank you, Bam. Opoku's leaving after today's game to head to the U23s. So you end up with a lot of juggling, a lot of minutes, and trying to figure out what you can do if you're LAFC here. But LAFC's offense has decided not to show up. Which is no goal scored. Not scoring back-to-back against Houston. Not scoring against Atlanta United. And the questions, and I guess I'm trying to get in my questions before Bam falls asleep at his desk. Now what? Post-game, Hollingshead and Steve Cherundolo, Carlos Vela and Ryan Hollingshead were going from the same talking points. You know, not good run of form or whatever the phraseology was, but they were basically using the same soundbite just from a different player. And the way things are with LAFC right now, how, you know, our folks gripping. Tonight you might have a good answer from the LAFC end. But this was a team that everyone was sitting there and, locked and loaded. They're like, okay, everything's cool. We're going to make another run. Everything's fantastic. Right now, LAFC, with this recent run of form, they still have competition. You only have one on St. Louis on All Caps SC. But the way things are right now in the West, after this run of form that we have seen and continue to see from LAFC has only played 15 matches. All Caps have played 16. Seattle's played 18. Houston's played 17. Vancouver's played 17. That gets you to 7th. LAFC still has matches in hand. And I know that in the past we sit there and we talk about matches in hand. That's a great thing. But what we always seem to forget to talk about is schedule compression as the counterweight to all of this. And right now, LAFC, with this recent run of form, 23 goals on the year, 26 points. They are third right now because of goal difference. They're at a +8 in goal difference at 20. San Jose's at a +1. All those early numbers and the early markers are the only thing keeping LAFC from, say, 5th. And it makes you wonder. It absolutely makes you wonder. Yeah, LAFC is going to have more short weeks. Bam, we only have short weeks. Bam, ever magnanimous, giving the rest of the league a chance. So, you now wonder just a little bit. Yeah, and you wonder about that locker room too. What is going on in the LAFC locker room right now? Goalless in 5 of their last 6. Yes, you're third by goal difference, but you could very easily be 5th or 6th. You could very easily be 5th or 6th. So you've got that to talk about with LAFC going forward. and much like a lot of other, specifically Abby's trying to recruit Bam to come and hang out, as you should when you are able and capable. When you're able and capable, Bam, we'd love to see you. For an LAFC Atlanta United match. Maybe we meet in the middle at some point. But the questions are right now for LAFC, A, where are the goals? B, where are the goals coming from? Changing room. Okay, it's a changing room. Thank you, Tom. So that's the question right now for LAFC after getting shut out last night again. Head-scratching time in the Western Conference, at least for one club. And we'll catch up with Niko Moreno and get his thoughts on the Western Conference coming up in about. We'll have what we always do with Niko when we have Thursdays with Niko Independent. We'll go through the Pacific perspective. We'll go through red, yellow, and green and get all of his thoughts with what's going on there. That's your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And once again, thanks to everybody who's invested in Kickoff Coffee. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I know a lot of you have been posting stuff this morning in the Twitch pitch. It looks like George Bello. And we'll start with, I'll go backward. Tafka, I'll go once again. We're looking at sources, looking at source numbers. But overseas, it appears that twice relegated Arminia Bielefeld might be shopping George Bello. I hope for both of their sakes they do. Bello was looked at, I want to say last year by and right now George Bello needs, and Arminia Bielefeld too, they need to separate. George is not getting minutes. He's not getting anything solid when it comes to playing time. And I want to get my numbers just so I can back this up. The George Bello Arminia Bielefeld relationship has not been a good one. Not been a good one. And so I didn't know that Wasserman was his agency. Okay, so he's a Wasserman. He's a Wasserman client. Arminia Bielefeld expires end of fiscal year 2026, June 30, 26. So he's got another 3 years left on the deal. But seriously, if the money's right, then George needs to go. He does. So full stats on George Bello at Arminia Bielefeld. Relegated again. They're out of Bundesliga 2. They're heading to Bundesliga 3. 21 matches in Bundesliga B. 1 yellow card, 760 minutes. 2 games in the Pokal, and 2 games in. They played both legs of the relegation playoff. So you starts, not in squad, on the bench, and it literally is feast or famine for George. Started in 2 of the first. He came in how many starts? I need to check the start numbers here. But 21 appearances for Arminia Bielefeld. It's time. It has been a relationship that has not benefited either, and the number of starts for George. Let me see if I can. Three starts in regular play. Most of the time, he's been a substitute. Most of the time, George has been a substitute, coming in for cups of coffee here and there. 18 minutes a start, 18 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 3 minutes, start, 45, start, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 19, start, on the bench, not in squad. And there was this stretch on the bench or not on the squad for 6 or 7 matches, and he started in the other one. Then he finishes the season 5 minutes, 17, 10, 28, on the bench for 2, 34. And then he goes and he plays in both of the relegation playoffs. Only started 11 of 30, substituted in for 15. He was on the bench for 9. This was so if it is in fact the case, night, Bam. With George Bello, wanted this one. Atlanta United had a part of the horn. And so Bello and his representation wanted to go to Arminia Bielefeld. And we see what happened. So according to sources on the Bird app, look at numbers. And I know we want what's best. Watford that might be interested in picking up George Bello away from a double relegated side on Arminia Bielefeld. And there actually is a Bundesliga. There is a Bundesliga 3. There is a 3 Bundesliga. After that, much like England, you get into regional leagues and things like that. But this was not an official move for George Bello. and I'm hoping that a fresh start will do him well. If those things that we are seeing on the Bird app are being laid out, then you're hoping that is in fact the case. Houston Dynamo is having fun this morning on Twitter. The folks at Houston using a Toy Story picture. You can't spell Los Angeles without two L's. That comes from our friends at the Houston Dynamo. So the Houston Dynamo is certainly feeling themselves this morning. But, yeah, I mean, when George goes to Bielefeld, the managed, I mean, it was pretty quick. And then, of course, George at that point, it's like, okay, what does the new guy want? What does the new guy want for me? What does he want in general? And so it was just the points, it seemed like it was doomed from the start. So if this is in fact the case where George is heading to either Watford or Swansea, I think it is if this is in fact the case, then like I said, hoping for the best or something like that. And you want that fresh start, and you're hoping that a fresh start can help him out. Like I said, he was linked to Birmingham City last year, but it looks like it right now, as of this moment, it appears that it might be our friends in either Swansea or after that would be chasing after George Bello. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, the rumors this morning, and that's the fun part of this season. But once again, find the rumors, look at your followers, look at your numbers. And I know that Tom posted the Brandon Vasquez to Everton one because of his ties. And it would be interesting to see that kind of firepower over there, to see how Brandon Vasquez would adjust. It would also be interesting to see how FC Cincinnati adjusts. If like I said, if this is in fact anything close, anywhere close, who knows? I mean, Cincinnati moved Brenner for 8 figures. Would be doing the same thing for Brandon Vasquez. With their new pursuits, trying to sit there and turn things around. How would Brandon Vasquez adapt to the Premier League? That would be the question for me. That would be part of it. So Planet Sport were the ones that were mentioning Everton could sign 24-year-old international striker. Ricky is also saying Brandon Vasquez to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Must be nice to be in demand. Nothing like being in demand, because what that does is it drives up the price tag if you're FC Cincinnati. If these are in fact true. If this is the case where multiple want to leave FC Cincinnati and come to Europe, come to experience new horizons, how does FC Cincinnati invest? How do they invest? That's the big question. Still waiting to see about the Brenner investment. Anybody else outbound? How do you reinvest those? How do you reinvest those dollars? So we'll keep an eye on that. Once again, rumors, gossip, innuendo. Check your sources, check your numbers, check the amount of followers, check the spelling of, if it's anywhere close to a pundit that we all follow. Check the spelling of the name. If it's like one letter off, or if there's a bracket or an underscore in there. Follow your sources. Pretty much think that this transfer season is going to be crazy. It already has been, because you go to MLSsoccer.com and they have 75 different articles about Lionel Messi. Trying to figure out what else is going on in the league. Yeah. You get a player like Lionel Messi, you devote as much of the space up top as humanly possible. Above the fold, multiple sections, special sections. Make it happen. We do have the game tonight. Coco mentions USMNT in Mexico. And I'll go ahead and put it out there. What is the anticipation, expectation, desired effect from tonight? Other than advancing, what else do you want to see? I know that you want to beat, I know that the U.S. fans want to beat El Tri. I know that part. What are you looking forward to about tonight? Let me know what you're looking forward to about this match. 10 o'clock, it's going to be a late night. We know this. Chelsea's going to advance their pursuit from Ben Jacobs at CBS Sports, advancing their pursuit of Moises Caicedo over the coming weeks. Brighton will let Caicedo leave. It was clear when he extended. It's going to take around $70 million guaranteed and £10 million in add-ons. Caicedo is fully open to the move even without European football. Once again, all of the sources, all of the movement, all of our favorite players. Damian Lowe, notable absence on a list because of an injury. No update yet. Team was off to start the week. Gazdag could miss next Wednesday's match at Orlando since Hungary plays on the 17th and the 20th. Martinez will be back for the Orlando game. That's from Jonathan Tannenwald, Philadelphia. Rumored third kit. Go ahead. Make sure that I'm completely and totally broke. Please let me just be broke. Yep, the Miggies and the Unais. We'll get into all of the matchups and things like that. Probably, why don't we, like 10 o'clock. Unless, of course, I sit there and turn on a dime and sit there and go, yeah, let's talk about it right now. Coco talking about Greg Berhalter. Yeah, well, okay, we can kind of slide into what the discussion's about. All right. So Greg Berhalter, allegedly, apparently, probably, possibly, perhaps, we mentioned it yesterday, linked to Club America. But then, as more on, it appeared that Greg Berhalter was no longer in consideration for the job at Club America. And they were bringing in the current manager at Atletico San Luis. Don't know how well that relationship will go and how long it will last, but I digress. So, Greg Berhalter, and first and foremost, the fact that Greg Berhalter's name was mentioned in a Liga MX opening, that's big. You have a manager who's based in the United States being considered and highly considered for a gig in Liga MX Grandes. But as the afternoon and the evening wore on, Greg Berhalter was no longer in consideration for the position. Reports were because he still is interested in being the head coach of the USMNT. And he feels that he is in contention for that particular position. And we know that there are a couple of other folks that are tied into it. Patrick Vieira's mentioned. We talked about it with Bart yesterday that they are, that you have for position. I traditionally have been one who has, I'm not a fan of multi-cycle coaches. I know a lot of USMNT fans will look at Jurgen Klinsmann and sit there and go, that's the example why. But right now, that are out there. Patrick Vieira, who is the one who is, Bart would have the largest piece of poster board with the brightest background, or maybe he would have the darkest piece of poster board with the most electric lettering. Bart is His name has been mentioned. Greg Berhalter wants to be still in contention for this particular position. And I'm sure that there are others that we've talked about that are in consideration that have just kind of blown past us, and we sit there and go, oh, he's in consideration too. And you understand, if this is in fact Greg Berhalter's position, you understand it. If you still feel that you are in contention for the job that you held and basically your contract just ran out, putting all of the other stuff to the side involving Greg Berhalter, put all of that to the side. If Greg, who is out of contract with U.S. Soccer, feels that he is the dude and could still be the dude, then you could understand his apprehension if it is in fact that. Honored to have been thought of and asked, but I've got to, I still have, thoughts about this particular job. You get that. You understand that. So, Club America looks like they're bringing in Atletico San Luis's manager. U.S. is still trying to figure out who they're going to have for their manager. Plenty of interviews. But at the end of the day, once again, as we always say here on the show, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know who else is being considered. And, I mean, we always hear about the heavyweights. The folks that are kind of flying below the radar, those are the ones that we don't know. So we'll see how this lays out. And as I say, I am not one to bring back Greg Berhalter just because, like I said, I'm a one-cycle person. So if you were to bring in someone who is out of the loop, say, and you feel like you need to make a decision. You right now you're in Nations League, you're getting ready for Gold Cup. Would it be the safe play to renew Greg Berhalter? Because he knows the competition. He knows the individuals that he wants to have as a part of his attack to chase after championships. He knows what to do in these competitions and in these situations. Is it Greg Berhalter once again? Because as you get closer and closer and closer to important competitions, what do you decide? Coco, don't feel strongly about bringing 3G back or not. Just glad it seems the USSF is at least interviewing multiple guys this time. Coco has a very low bar. Nix, the emotions, and I hope you're doing well, Nix, this morning. Emotions in that 3G for laughing at the thought of crying that he thinks he's coming back to the USMNT. So, I mean, that's, and obviously that's what you're staring at here. It's once again, that's what you're staring at right now with the head of the USMNT looking for a head coach. It is the one gentleman whose contract ran out and other names. That's what you're staring at right now. And like I said, I apologize. I'm blowing through the Twitch pitch in a temporal order. So if we circle back to something, I apologize. Knicks, and I did want to bring this up too. Knicks got to talk about the Revs buying out Josie. Ends up if he doesn't retire. I'm thinking it's the latter, unless somebody thinks they can get lightning in a bottle and can sit there and say, which is what you would have thought with New England in the first place. Here's the deal, Josie. You're going to play X number of minutes, the occasional start. We need this, and this out of you. Can you give it? It was obvious when New England came to Atlanta that Josie is only working one half of the field plus maybe 10 yards. He cannot help you defensively and be expected to work his way down to the other end. He's camping out center circle, and he's running the other way. And he's going to be there to post up to help you out to gain possession on second balls off of long kicks, that kind of a thing. I don't know where he would go because you know that he is going to want to his way. I have earned this much. Situations like this is where you could probably petition for something along the lines of a veteran's exception or a veteran minimum or something like that. Kind of like what we have with the NBA. I don't know. Use. Is it LAFC like they did with BWP? Is it something like that? All right. So let's take a peek. St. Louis, not his style. Seattle's locked in. LAFC, do you take a flyer? Dallas, not their DNA. San Jose, not their DNA. Houston, Ben Olsen, I don't think it wouldn't touch it. Vancouver, no. Portland, no. Kansas City, no. Minnesota, maybe to come in off the bench and give you 20 late. RSL, no. Austin doesn't fit their DNA. LAG would be an interesting thought. Once again, of I need Josie Altidore to be physical. I need for him to give me 20 minutes. I need for him to be clinical. And how many of those three he got in New England? Maybe one for Bruce Arena. Is it LAG to get help up top? Now with Chicharito gone for the season with an injury. Is it LAG? Joveljic probably is starting more. If Joveljic starts more, does Josie come in off the bench? Does Greg Vanney sit there and go, Josie, I need you to do A, B, C, D, and E? This is what I'm looking for. Colorado, no chance. In the East, Miami, we know where they're heading. Josie is not a Messi, and Jesse is not, Messi heading to Inter Miami as I mix all of my personalities. Josie is not going to be an N friends in Miami. NYC doesn't fit. Having to play in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium would help because he's really not running as much. Toronto, I don't see it unless you just, you're Bob Bradley. You go back and it's like, hey, I need one more dance. No from Red Bulls, no from Charlotte, no from Montreal. DC's got Christian Benteke. Purple team, no. Columbus will let him go. Philosophically, doesn't fit Philly, doesn't fit Nashville, and doesn't fit Cincinnati. So there are some ideas. There are some ideas out there, but it would have to be from a manager that knows his skill set and is comfortable with the amount of effort that you could have coming from Josie Altidore. So, like I said, there are a couple, and you'd have to wedge him in, and you'd have to take the salary hit, and you'd have to Josie is a spot starter at best. Give me 20. Go out there and bust your ass. Be physical. Be clinical. That's the part for me. Yeah, Josie. I mean, just you look at and what you guys have been discussing. I mean, yeah, Ricky, Galaxy. I mean, but well, now Ricky, you mentioned Sporting. You mentioned Sporting Kansas City. I would think that if you brought him in for 20, you could you bring him in behind Polito, you bring him in as that dude up top late. I don't know, frankly, if Peter Vermes would put up with Josie out the doors ish. Because I mean, if they did take that as a flyer, if they took that one as a flyer, you go, all right, Josie, and picture Peter Vermes. Picture Peter Vermes, the gift that we always like to see. Picture Peter Vermes in the first meeting with the two. Josie comes in, sits down, sits down as Peter's behind his executive desk, or they do it out on the training pitch. One of the Josie, whomever is going to be courting him or recruiting him is going to be Josie's going to say all the right things. Peter Vermes would sit there and say, "Hey, look, dude, here's the deal. I need you to do this, 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 and this." The first time he doesn't, Josie's gone. He's yelled at by Peter Vermes at the very least, depending on how much time's left in the match. Then he's going to get yelled at some more away from the field, away from everybody else in the locker room. I don't know if something in Sporting would match the patience level of Peter Vermes having to deal with Josie and any kind of ish housing or ish handling that if he was to show up in Kansas City. And in Nick's, yeah, this is what I'm looking at. LAG would be interesting, but could also blow up spectacularly. I mean, the only way. Well, Amelia, I know that you suggest Josie to Atlanta. Josie doesn't run enough. Josie would have to help out defensively in addition to what you would want him to do. There's 80% of a defensive half that he would have to cover. And I don't know if he's got the wheels to do it anymore. I mean, like I said, when we saw him here with New England, when he came in late, walking back and forth near the center line, standing in center circle, waiting for a long ball, posting up, chesting it down, trying to win that first ball so New England could, go forward from Petrovic. Basically, Petrovic sends it long. Josie's there trying to post up against Purata or time. Posts up, tries to win the ball from Petrovic, tries to chest it down, aim it to a player so they can turn around and go. Josie's game is not end-to-end anymore, and in what we have with Gonzalo Pineda, you would need someone who goes and helps out defensively. Josie does not have those kinds of wheels anymore. So that's why I would say, if you were thinking about Atlanta, I would say no, because it's just you need to be end to end to help out. You need to be. I mean, if you're center forward, you've got to be out at the back line helping out defense, and then be ready to run like hell. Josie's 80% of the defensive half does not exist for him anymore. So that's why I would say no to a Josie to Atlanta idea. Yeah, and I mean that's the one, Michael, about the hopefully yesterday was okay at Stone Mountain after all the thunder and lightning. You would think that he gets signed to the veteran men contract. So it's not something where you're not exerting a whole lot of cap space and a whole lot of that. And that's why I think that any team that wants to jump on Josie on a flyer, it would end up being, okay, we're not spending a whole lot of money. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's the thing. Also, as Ricky, I think the Galaxy makes the most sense given the connections. Once again, we talked about Greg Vanney. And Ricky wants to see Lopez back with the first team first, and Hutch make it up on the offensive side of the ball. Apparently, Lionel Messi is doing Lionel Messi type things in the Argentina match, and it is literally just doing. You sit there and you say, Messi's doing Messi things, and apparently, since I haven't, had the chance to watch the match, I don't have it on here. They're up 2-0, second half, and there's like 4 or 5 different dudes from Australia that are trying to slow him down and get the ball away from him. Tell me that's something new that that never has happened before in the history of anybody trying to attack Lionel Messi. So Messi is schooling Argentina, and they're going to rotate things out for the second match in this window. So the folks that got to see Argentina, Australia, they're getting a treat this morning. But no real surprise. That's doing all the treating this morning. So, all right. So once again, we got late night tonight. We got late night tonight with USMNT. I know that folks are looking at. So who was it? Oh, Knicks. Knicks was looking at. Knicks is looking at Balogun. Ricky's looking at Balogun, and Ricky's also looking forward to seeing Miles bossing Mexico again. And Knicks is looking, saying hopefully Gio starts and balls out. and the love for 3GB is right there with us. Argentina. Yep. And and this is also, Nix, I'm glad you brought this up. Lucho Acosta. This would add to your situation at the 10. Lucho Acosta possibly citizenship. We know how lawyers, if you can work quickly, we know how lawyers can work if they know the machinations of citizenship and what it needs to take and how they can get things expedited. Could you imagine adding Luciano Acosta to the UFC roster? I know a lot of folks would sit there and go, that doesn't suck. But keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. And Tom also bringing up the Vasquez Everton connection, possible, probable, who knows, perhaps, maybe. Article did mention strong possibility of Vasquez staying through the season and move. Also, that could definitely also help. I mean, it would help Vasquez if you think about it. If Brandon Vasquez stays through the end of the season, then what you have is a transition time for Brandon Vasquez to work his way into being acclimated with the Premier League. So season ends November, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then you try and get everything all figured out. Perhaps he might be active and ready to go. You have him as a part of your transactions in the January window. So you see what happens there. And so obviously, yes, we keep an eye on Brandon Vasquez, possibly, probably, maybe go someplace else other than staying in Cincinnati. All right, so let's see what else is on the board before we do our. Okay, so Hutch, I don't know what's going on. I really don't know. With the max headroom audio effects. I do not know. But like I said, 2 more days in the mountains, today and tomorrow. Then we're back to somewhat normal. And then next week, this time, the show will be from New York. So we'll be up there for the unified game with Atlanta. So that'll be a fun one. And so we'll see what happens with all that. But take a peek at all of that stuff. Jared Smith joining us for hour number 2. Niko Moreno coming in at the bottom of the hour for Thursdays with Niko. And we were kind of talking about LAFC just a little bit, Jarrett, to start the show off this morning. And we talked about Joey Altidore being released by New England, and it looks like he's being bought out. So we were going into the stuff going on in Major League Soccer, but LAFC has not scored in 5 of their last 6, sir. If you were in a DEFCON scale, if you were the Barry Corbin character in War Games, where would you have DEFCON right now?
3.
Yeah?
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world. I know that there is a certain amount of Schadenfreude that can come from this. Trust me, I know. I've enjoyed it too. But the entire run has been sandwiched around the CONCACAF Champions League final, which was taxing, and one goal they scored was in that away leg. But the whole final was taxing. Look, they should have scored like 3 goals against Atlanta. Brad Guzan really swings that number. This is something we consider a lot of times when we talk about Atlanta, like when they have a game where, things didn't go well. Well, there's sometimes when you play when the universe or a goalkeeper hates you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at 3 with them. I mean, they've been misfiring, but now that Champions League is done, they don't have Open Cup to worry about. All they have to worry about is the league and then Leagues Cup. Bart somewhere just perked up like a dog who heard a siren. But I'm not as worried about them. Fine, it's not the end of the world for them. They've got God knows they got plenty of time to make it up.
Yep. Hutch says a vintner could make a small fortune with a Schadenfreude branded sparkling wine for special occasion.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know how you make something taste like spite, but you could do that.
Wouldn't it have to taste really bad? It would have to be very, very bitter vintage, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would.
So that was that would be interesting. Schadenfreude branded sparkling wine. That started this. What's the name of the brand?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm letting Hutch do it first.
Oh, I guess yeah. I'll leave it to Hutch. But yeah, as far as LA's goes, I mean, they're not perfect. I don't think anyone ever accused him of being that, and they've struggled. Like their most convincing win recently since the start of May, was a 3-0 beating of Philly, where Philly got a red card. Otherwise, like their most recent win was San Jose, where they got a 95th minute penalty from Vela to take all 3 points. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect, but I think they've been good enough that we can laugh at it. And it's one of the things is you can kind of giggle at it right now because you know that they've got it in their back pocket to be better. So you enjoy those moments. It's the same thing you enjoy when like Alabama's bad. because you know it won't last forever.
Right. You make sure that if you're the rest of the SEC, you enjoy it while it's happening, because they're going to come back just as mad, if not madder, when they get everything sorted out and they fire 3 coaches and bring in 3 with past NFL experience to try to figure things out. Josie Altidore was also a topic in the first hour of the show. Looks like he's getting bought out by New England, and we were trying to figure out where Josie could go, or is Josie done? And as we were kind of workshopping the thing, she head out to me as a possibility. You're starting Joveljic. You don't have Chicharito anymore. The relationship is there with Vanny. I'm thinking possibly something like that. I know that I think Ricky was mentioning Sporting as a way to back up Polito. But I think options are limited now. Give me 20, 25, maybe 30, or a spot start and be clinical. It's pretty. We're toward the end of the line here for Josie Altidore, and options are very limited, as it looks like New England's buying him out.
We are, and this is the thing, man. Like, we talk about, when the cliff comes for people, sometimes it's sheer, sometimes it's gradual. And a lot of times, the older you get, the more sheer it gets. But for Josie, it seems like it's here. How long do you want to play this out, bud?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that tonight I'll be in Kennesaw calling Apotheos versus Nisa Team Chattanooga FC in a friendly. If he shows up there, who am I to say I'm surprised? I mean, at this point, though, like Josie ain't it. I mean, he had that goal for New England a couple of games ago against Chicago, where he rescued a draw for them in a 3-3 drunken feast before New England came and played a 3-3 draw with Atlanta. Man, aside from that, it hadn't really been it, and Josie hadn't been it for a while. And that's something Josie's got to reckon with. Can't do it for him.
Yeah. And I had mentioned that LAG sounds like the easiest landing spot. But if it was Sporting Kansas City and you're having that meeting with Peter Vermes, the first time that you don't do what Peter Vermes wants you to do, you get Peter Vermes' gif, and it I mean, could you imagine Peter Vermes' gif if Josie ends up in Sporting and have it not go the way that they want it to go? And so,
yeah, I can, because that kind of feels like, I mean, how many times in your sporting life have you thought about like a guy who is a former star who was that dude, and now he's not? And they kind of, some guys do not age out gracefully. Some guys kind of lash out at the end.
Yeah.
So Josie's always been very outspoken. If you told me Josie went somewhere else, took another shot at it, and was outspoken and started a hootenanny, I believe it.
Because we all absolutely do. And Michael and Abby have been going back and forth about Josie and his efforts for the men's national team. Michael maintaining that no one stepped up to take Josie's place after Josie's prime years and tournaments were behind it. Steered and scored, and from the men's national team, you have not had that kind of a replacement ever since Josie's time was done.
No, I mean, it's been kind of a revolving door, and Josie's entire career Josie was really good. Josie also has some like what might have been energy about him.
Yes.
Because like the moment, like the core memory for me is still the game against, I think it was in 2009 against Spain, where he posts up, spins off a guy, and shoots and scores, and USA beat Spain, the first team to beat Spain in like a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, you're just like, oh, what could be? And then
Mm-hmm.
it becomes what might have been.
Yeah,
It
it does.
sucks.
Yeah.
And again, and it sucks to watch somebody slip
Yeah.
when they're not that dude anymore. And it really can suck to watch it when you realize not only are they not that dude anymore, but they're not handling it well. And we'll see how Josie handles it. Josie might have been handling it decently behind the scenes. We don't know. Like, we just know Josie's always been outspoken. He
Mm-hmm.
might have been pretty chill with Bruce. He might have had a dust up with Bruce. I don't know. Because some guys change as they get older too, and it's hard. It's hard to say, but it does stink that this feels like it's the end for a guy who was really damn good and who was physically gifted as hell. And man, you wonder what would have happened if he had stayed healthy, especially in that World Cup.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. And you've got a lot of folks who are keeping an eye on that tonight. Speaking of which, since we're talking about the USMNT, Allegiant Stadium in their
Speaking of a team that can't score goals with strikers consistently,
yes, a possible, probable, perhaps, maybe regulation pitch at Allegiant, and I imagine that you're going to have 7 gazillion people there on Paramount Plus and on Univision, 10 o'clock. The winner gets either Canada or Panama on Sunday in the final. Loser heads obviously to the third place matchup earlier in the CONCACAF Nations League final. They won it 3-2. Christian Pulisic's penalty kick in extra time. That was the USMNT's first of 2 regional titles 2 years ago. They're going to defend the Gold Cup crown later in June and early July. So you have the interim for the interim. You've got the substitute for the substitute teacher, BJ Callahan, and El Tree are in the. What are you looking at in this one tonight? I mean, you've got the fan. We were talking. It's like, okay, what are you anticipating tonight? I know that a lot of folks in the Twitch pitch are looking forward to seeing Falarin Balogun and what he can do. You've got Ricardo Pepi once again looking at the 9. Balogun, I know, is now bright light for U.S. fans until Lucho Acosta's citizenship is adjusted. And then you add Lucho Acosta to this mix, too. That wouldn't stink either. But I know a lot of folks are looking forward to seeing what Falarin Balogun can do for the USMNT in this game against El Tree. What are you looking at?
yeah, Balogun. Balogun's a good shout to it. Look, folks aren't ready for Lucho. Lucho and the national team would be hilarious. Just you got to do it out there who can make things happen. I know one of the bigger talking points is going to be on the managerial side with the news last night about Greg Berhalter not taking over Club America, so he can take over the club that services America / the national team.
Yes.
And that didn't shoehorn nearly as well as I wanted it to. Which also ruins my ambition, which was to have Greg Berhalter coaching Club America in CONCACAF against an MLS club, and Greg Berhalter eventually coaching Mexico, coaching the Mexican national team, and just seeing how many levels of hell I can put this fan base through.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Juice boxes, juice boxes. By the way, at a plus 110, and your draws a plus 216, and Mexico is a plus 263 to win it. That's your juice boxes for tonight. You look at, Tyler Adams recovering from a hamstring. Tim Ream recovers from a broken arm. Lineup decisions are going to be really interesting. I mean, Mexico with Diego Cocha for the 2026 cycle. Stints at Tijuana helped him to top League A and Group A. Now they can try and grab another CONCACAF crown. A lot of familiar faces. You're going to get Memo Ochoa coming back from saving Salernitana. Edson Alvarez, Henry Martin, Santiago Jimenez. You'll get Julian Araujo and Uriel Antuna, former LA Galaxy, pairing for El Tri in this one. Mexico, you know that they want to reclaim, that they want to be, once again, the big dog on the block. And for them, it has looked pretty, did not look good under Tata Martino. They looked like a side that was aging, not handling speed well, couldn't score. And that's a bad combination through all of this. Through all of that. That is a bad combination to have, and it just makes you wonder. And fans are going to want instant gratification. We know this. They're going to want the instant gratification that's attached to it. But realistically, what do you, I mean, you've got to turn things around quickly. And I don't know if Diego Cocha can do that. And it's going to
be
suck.
realistic about it then, because people aren't going to be realistic about it. So someone might as well be, because you're not going to turn it around immediately. It's not the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you're not going to be able. You're not going to be able to just magically turn it around and just start winning every game. Like it's going to take time. It's going to take changes of that roster because as you mentioned, it was an old roster. There were old guys on it. Those guys don't. It's not like you had a bunch of young guys and you're thinking, okay, it's rough, but they're growing into their prime. It's the other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't magically get better. Now it might get better. Let's say Mexico goes out tonight and drops a 2-0 bomb on the U.S.
Right.
Could happen. One result doesn't mean it's the whole overview is better. Might be more stable, maybe. Still got to get younger. It's got to have young guys come into their prime, like you had for so long with Mexico.
Yeah, and so then let me present it the other side. If Mexico finds lightning in a bottle tonight, and they get the win, and they're getting the chance, U.S. is stuck in a third place game. What are we going to be talking about very, very early tomorrow morning if all hell breaks loose and the big underdog gets the win? What's the talking point?
At that point, I mean, it's what went wrong, because you're going to ask what went wrong. And I know people don't like to hear it all the time, but sometimes it's not a matter of everything went wrong. Sometimes it's just somebody else's birthday. Sometimes it ain't your day. The sunshine has shone on the other dog's ass and not your own. Sometimes that happens. But we'll ask what went wrong. We'll ask who did what, and we'll ask some questions about who needs to be here for the Gold Cup, who doesn't. Are there guys we need to look at? And we'll judge it off 90 minutes, whether that's fair or otherwise, because that's what we do.
Yes, that's true.
So that's it. I mean, you'll ask what went wrong, who was lacking, who was good, what can you take away from it? Because at the end of the day, you will have to discover and figure out what can you take away from it that was good. That will be important to do, is to find out, who did things right that you can take away from this. Who did things wrong? Who submitted? Who's moving up the totem pole for the Gold Cup? Who's moving down the totem pole for the Gold Cup?
And I mean, for me, it's I'm anticipating the favorite doing what they need to do. I think that this is going to be a match that is going to set the world on fire. I just don't. I think it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy early. It's going to be then how you navigate how you navigate what you're staring at, and through an interesting matchup, because it's always interesting no matter what the superiority is, what the alleged superiority is in all of this. This is always going to be one of those games that, if one team is better than the other, especially now that the U.S. is playing better than Mexico, that you can't just roll in this match at Allegiant and sit there and say, yeah, you know what, we got this covered. You cannot do that. All of the stuff that is just out of control with this one.
Everything's going to be overreacted to. It's a USA-Mexico game. The anthem will be overreacted to. How players walk out on the field will be overreacted to. If someone trips on a piece of grass on the way out and they stumble, or they hit a cable, if some cable grip doesn't lay the cables flat and somebody trips over a cable and they catch themselves but they stumble a little bit, that will be overanalyzed. They weren't locked in mentally for the game. That's why, in the 5th minute they didn't rotate their coverage, or the pass was a little bit behind his intended target. Everything will be overanalyzed because it's USA Mexico, and it's going to be exhausting. And it's going to have the same damn earthy tones of a good old-fashioned USA-Russia Miracle on Ice, where after that one, you still had to find the energy to say, oh, wait, that was the semifinal. We still had a final to play. Whoopsies.
Mm-hmm.
Because, at the end of the day, you're going to get over the emotion of this game and get ready to play this weekend, because you have to play. The winner has to play a final.
Mm-hmm.
Loser has to play a semifinal. It's worse than losing to your rival? Losing to your rival, feeling bad about yourself, and then getting curb stomped by possibly Panama or Canada. That's worse.
Yes. And Canada, we've heard Atiba Hutchinson has said he's hanging it up after this one. Legitimately, the radar a lot. When it comes to Canada, I don't know what to gauge with John Herdman. I really don't, because we do know that John Herdman enjoys a microphone, and he enjoys his press conferences, and he enjoys puffing out his chest. But I don't know what to read about Canada. And they could be primed for getting the Three Stooges poke in the eye. But I don't know if, and I don't know if they're ready to put their hand, on the bridge of their nose to prevent Panama from giving the Three Stooges finger poke of doom. I really don't. I don't know how to read Canada. I never really have, especially under John Herdman.
It's because it's difficult to read a team that's kind of all over the place. Because Canada is all over the place. They came out with 3 different looks in the World Cup. And you want to be really critical of them, then try this on for size. It's what do we say about a team that uses 2 quarterbacks, John?
It means that the OC and the head coach don't know what they really think about it.
If you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
If you have, if you're coming out with 3 different looks, 3 different styles, do you really have one? Or are you are you going for the chameleon thing where you're able to try and change things up constantly, but can you do something other than sit back, absorb, counter? Can you bring the fight?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see how I guess my thing is, I guess my thing with this is the spotlight and the target are now on you, Canada. How do you react to it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah. Shooter, by the way, in our Shooter has awakened in the Twitch pitch, and Shooter is referring to him as the most useless parking cone in history.
Josie, modern Josie, I can believe it. Young Josie was good, man. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 2023 Josie, I believe it.
All right, so Shooter, and I mean this honestly, I want you to put your MLS thinking cap on. Where could Josie go from here? And I want you to put your fandom aside. I want you to put your fandom aside. Where could Josie go from here? If you listened in the first part of the show, we came up with solutions. Shooter's like, we still have more crap to get rid of, but that's a start. Shooter being Shooter, always demure with his words. Always demure. Right now, New England's 4th in the East. Part of that gaggle that's there between 2 and 7, really. If you want 6 points separating 2 from 7. Cincinnati's 8 points clear. You've got one of the best keepers in the league, and your defense recently has had issues. Shooter's fired up. Yeah, Michael says he just needs to go home and count his money. And Shooter, same old crap, teasing, never pleasing. We have no striker. Teasing, never pleasing. I think I've got to put that. It's got to be a hashtag or a T-shirt somewhere. Abby's saying that Josie should retire. I still think somebody kicks the tires on him. I really do. I still
Someone's
think
going to kick at the very well. It depends. How much pride does he have? Because someone in USL will kick the tires on him for sure.
Yeah, true.
I mean, for New England, they just didn't replace Adam Buksa, which was tough.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Buksa was really damn good.
Mm-hmm.
Failing to replace Adam Buksa when trying is tough. If you were trying to replace Adam Buksa with Josie straight up, well, here's your problem. I can pull up this carpet and show you the rot in the wood. You can put new windows in the house, but if the frames are rotten, then it's only going to get you so far before you have to start calling somebody else again. Josie's pride enough that he wouldn't take a USL gig? Because I'm curious to see who from MLS would give him a call. Maybe like like a Galaxy, like a Sporting Kansas City, who needs a backup for Polito when Polito inevitably has a Wile E. Coyote type of mishap befall him.
Happened before.
Yeah. Ooh. Noted striker whisperer. Adrian Heath in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
They have tried to replace striker. They have tried to replace strikers for the past 7 years, and they have just Minnesota with strikers is like watching a 7-year loop of Sideshow Bob step on rakes.
Oh, could that be the answer? Minnesota.
And see, that's in Michael's point. I think he's right. So I don't think Josie's going to play for peanuts, and I don't think any FO is going to pay. So who flinches?
True.
I don't think most places aren't going to spend the money that Josie might want. They're not going to want to spend big TAM money on him.
Mm-hmm.
Can he be what Dom Dwyer was for Atlanta last year? But I still think Dom Dwyer could be if
Dom's working out.
If he wants. Dom's working out, man. I still think Dom ends up on the West Coast to be close to his kids. We never got to ask him straight up. I'd love to know if he and Atlanta split so he could be closer to the family. Because we know he's always, when they were married, they always followed each other around. They always and they always found ways. I think when he was in Orlando, when Sidney LaRue was playing in Orlando, it was easier in Atlanta. Catch an hour flight to Orlando, that's not a big deal. But in LA, I wonder I don't know if he's still here or not, actually, or if he's back in Kansas City or if he's in LA, wherever he is. I wonder if he would take a shot somewhere, because I think that would be a better fit than what Josie gives you. Because look, it felt like last year that Dom Dwyer was perfect for what Atlanta needed. He was a veteran striker who was very real about what his role was at that point in his career. He wasn't a DP striker anymore. He was very real about that. And the way he played, the intensity he played with, he scored some goals. He was influential when he got on the field. He brought fire, picked up a red card. He did all the things you want to see. The shooter says the word on the street is Buxom might return to MLS. Hey, man, New England, that door's going to be wide open, I'm sure.
Ricky brings this in. Johnny Infantino tells Reuters Vinicius Jr. is going to lead a new anti-racism committee. Quote, I asked Vinicius to lead this group of players that will present stricter punishments against racism that will later be implemented by all football authorities around the world in placed without comment. I can't.
Johnny Infantino talks, and I'm just kind of half listening. So,
well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, hey, your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying.
When you have been so flippant about things in the past, I don't have the same intensity to listen to you.
I don't have the same intensity to listen, just in theory. Yeah, well, Ricky, and then Ricky brings the question, is it passing the buck? Of course it is. Absolutely, it's passing the buck.
Yeah, he'll give him resources to try and do it, I'm sure.
Yeah. We'll spend money at the problem, but we won't fix the problem.
Well, we'll spend money. We'll give, they'll spend some money. They'll give Vinicius all the publicity that he wants in the world. Some money maybe to lead some grassroots projects. But if there was ever an organization if there was ever a sporting organization that would decide the grassroots, that actually spending the time and money to fix a problem through grassroots is unnecessary, so we'll just AstroTurf it, it's FIFA.
Mm-hmm. Ricky, racism happens to you. You figure it out. And when that story was posted by our friends at BR Football, one of the comments was, quote, today I feel black.
God, I hope Gianni knows better than that.
But remember, that was from the speech. That was. And Tom Russo saying, is Infantino still Qatari? Or was that just one day? I think that was just being in front of the microphone.
That was just one day to be in front of the microphone so that he could get up there and say something that made the hosts happy. And, he's not going to have to answer the questions about it ultimately. So whatever. It is a waste of breath for us to kind of wag a finger at Johnny about all of this.
That is absolutely true.
Anywho.
Yes, Tom. That whole speech was cringy AF.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely.
The whole damn World Cup was cringy. It was a lot of fun. It was still cringy. It could be better.
That's true. Yeah. The game action in and of itself, enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I still don't reference the country by name, just on premise. But it's Michael, it's true. Gianni Infantino is an example of how terrible an organization FIFA is. That is without question. And
which is really impressive considering you went from Sepp Blatter to Gianni Infantino. That's
some good stuff. Ish on a Thursday morning, which means we bring in someone who, I don't know. Niko, are you on your first or your second cup of coffee?
I am still on my first, and I just realized I forgot it downstairs, but it's all right because we are on SDH. So good morning, everyone. Excited as always to be with you guys. What's going on?
We were making fun of Johnny Infantino and Vinicius Jr. Johnny Infantino sitting here saying that Vinicius Jr. is going to be the new head of a racism committee. Basically, it's like, Vinicius Jr., you come up with ideas for stricter reinforcement of punishments and we'll institute them worldwide. And Jarrett and I were sitting there going, yeah, we're holding our breath on that one.
Yeah, isn't that supposed to be your job? Maybe give the guy some help that's dealing with the difficulties of mentally staying in a game when he's hearing all these types of things. How about you talk to the league about start taking away points, start to make teams lose games and really make a difference? So yeah, that sounds like baloney.
We got a couple of matches down in Vegas. rumor has it you're teleporting from your office there in Seattle. You're going to be in Vegas tonight. Are you teleporting? Are you going to watch these two in the Nations League?
No, definitely not. I see the private jet has a flat tire, so I'm not, going down there. I'm getting it replaced, but I'm talking to the shop, see if we can get it ready to go. But I doubt it. I don't think I'll be there.
All right, but so when you look at these two matches tonight, what sticks out? What's in the spot shadow for Niko with these two matches tonight down in Vegas?
Man, well, honestly, the biggest thing and will continue to be is just this U.S. and Mexico rivalry. It's so odd to hear everything going on in the turmoil in the Mexican Federation on one end, right, where you even have some of the people in charge of that federation hoping that Mexico loses so they can Coca, because he's not the guy that they wanted to be leading this team. There is on the other end a United States national team that has all this talent, all this great group of players, but there's no coach and they're wasting time. Some might say that it's not a waste of time. I say it's a waste of time. There should already be a head coach in charge trying to get this team going, following certain identity of play, getting to just develop and grow every game at a time. So that's the biggest component today is what we're going to see out of two very dysfunctional federations at the moment. One, United States, because they're still trying to figure out how they're going to restart, and the other in Mexico, where they've already restarted. They've already got a new coach. They've already trying to start a new era of soccer, and half of the federation is hoping he fails. So it's just going to be interesting how the players go out there, perform. Clearly, the United States and all of the talent that they have going on with Florin and with Gio, and is Gio going to play? How is he going to play? In general, I think it's just going to be about duels and the type of soccer that we're going to see out there. So that's obviously the biggest one out of the two.
Jared Smith for Niko Moreno on a third.
As far as the dysfunction goes, and yeah, there's plenty on both sides. It's honestly impressive that they seem to be competing against each other in this regard. That being said, thoughts on the reports last night about Greg Berhalter, Club America? Yes, no. Now he's out. Now he's waiting on the U.S. job coming back, and this circus just never seems to end.
It doesn't seem to end, man. And you people are going to hate me for this, but I just want Greg to get back just to see people's heads spin all the way around. And look, to be honest, it's once again, this golden age of soccer players, I'm not sure how much they would benefit out of getting a whole new person with a whole new perspective. I get what happened with Gio and things that you want to put in the past and maybe relationships that will never be fixed again. So I get that component. But I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what would happen if Greg was to be back. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't love it. I just think that it'd be just a coach that might be able to keep working on what he was hoping to work on before all the soap operas and everything that happened to him and this team went down. So I think the United States is in a win-win situation when it comes to it. I think if Greg goes in and they give him the job, they can say, hey, we're trying to build off of what was working, of a coach that got this team extremely far in the World Cup. And if it doesn't work, they're like, okay, then we'll move on to the next person. Now, if they want to just go ahead and do that right now and they want to get a new head coach to just bring in a new type of soccer, then they can do that as well. But I would just not be upset if Greg Berhalter was to be the national team's head coach once again. I just wouldn't be.
Well, because, I mean, you've got Nations League and Gold Cup coming up pretty quick. And with Berhalter, you end up with someone who knows the system, knows the guys, knows what he wants as you head into a big tournament, yeah?
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's like back to back to back, right? And you got Copa America coming up that you're probably going to get an invitation for. So it's just everything. Once again, if we put aside all of the shenanigans that happened, I think it's hard to say that Greg didn't deliver on this team, right? I mean, he was successful. He got them far. He lost, against a Netherlands team that was very good. That obviously went far in the tournament. They have moments, right? Does Pulisic put that first goal away? Does that change that whole game? So I just think that it's very easy for us to criticize sometimes on a guy's overall project. So yes, John, to your point, you get a guy that already has a rapport with most of the guys, that already has a system with a lot of the guys, that knows players coming in, players going out, domestically, abroad. He's respected by many. So yeah, I'd be more than okay with Greg coming in and helping you start to get results immediately, right? Because I've told you 1,000 times, golden generations don't come often, and when they do, you got to squeeze all the juice out of that lemon, because before you know it, it's out of juice.
Jarrett, go for it.
So if it's not him, like, and I would be fine with him coming back just to see headspin. I also would have been fine with him taking a Club America gig, because I wanted to see how much hell he could put fans in this country in if he was managing a Mexican club in CONCACAF Champions League, because I would have enjoyed it thoroughly. If it's not him, who would you like to see, like, if this falls through?
That's a good question. I was a Jesse March guy. I thought that he was a guy that deserved a shot. That was the next guy coming up for it. I'm not a believer that you need to bring in a guy that's South American or British because that's what we need in this country. No, I just think that you need a guy that is going to know what these guys can bring, that could put him in positions to succeed, and that could be a guy for the future. So I'm still on if it was Jesse. Obviously, there's better offers for Jesse out there, and I wouldn't be upset if that was the case. But to me, he would be the only guy that would be a no-brainer to bring in.
All right, let's change from national teams to Major League Soccer. And I'm just going to phrase it this way. We talked about it in hour number 1. What the hell's going on with LAFC?
Hey, man, it is that CCL effect, man. I side here with the winning team, with the team that won the whole thing. We saw with Philadelphia that after they were beat out of that tournament, they had a stretch of games where it was hard to play. They didn't look so good. And then, boom, they kind of came back. They were playing great. So it's taxing, man. I mean, it's difficult. And it's almost hard to explain how going from the high of being at the final of a CCL, not achieving that goal, it has an effect on your team, man. And right now, this LAFC squad that has some injuries and they have some rotation stuff, they just haven't looked as deep. Chiellini's looking, those miles in that car are starting to show real hard. He was inaccurate and behind so many times yesterday. That overall midfield looks so wide open in transition. They're vulnerable, and that's exposing the one-on-one abilities. I mean, look, Houston could have had this thing 3-0 at half. It's just that there was a still suspicious there offside call on one of the goals. You had Quinones that had a one-on-one where he has nothing but space in front of him, but decides to wade on the defender and cut in to where the defender is coming and just makes it extremely easy to be cut off. So if Houston had been clinical, if things had gone their way, they generated so many opportunities in such an easy manner. It was just easy for the Dynamo to just get from midfield to the final third of the field that, man, I thought it was going to be a lot broader. So to your question, I think that there's an anemic component of it. There's a mental state of going from a tournament like that back to MLS. I think that there's tired legs, and I think that this team doesn't look as deep as maybe most thought that they could. One, because Carlos Vela has really digressed in general. He has not been a difference maker. We knew that he wasn't going to be a 90-minute guy, that he was going to be probably a magician coming in at a specific time of the game, whether it was starting or whether it was coming off the bench. But he hasn't been impactful in either. So now you don't have any other options up top because there really isn't. Tillman has been so in general, specifically defensively when you put him on. Cifuentes looks checked out, as if someone who's already thinking and looking out to Europe. So I just think that there's a lot of different situations that are not allowing this team to play to their overall potential, and there are legitimate questions about the depth of that squad.
I'm glad you talked on Vela, because Vela was going to be where I went, because, yeah, we were talking about this with somebody the other day. 2019 is 4 years ago now. It's been a minute. And if he's not that talisman, you know better than anybody, Niko, with what Seattle has done in the past, that you can change your fortunes in the summer if you do it right. Is LAFC, I mean, how much are they a team to watch where they might be able to flip this thing on its head in the summer? Or are they kind of in a bit of a corner where they're just going to have to ride it through the winter?
Oh, no, I have no doubt that this team is going to figure it out in the summer or even before then, right? Right. They need to add pieces. That there's no question for me. They need to figure out, because Chiellini was not a long-term acquisition, right? Someone that they brought in, and you could kind of stand it and somewhat understand it for a 30-year-old center back because they were making that run at that MLS Cup. But then after that, man, you better be looking for someone else that can help you down there, because Maldonado's not the answer. I'll tell you right now, Maldonado is not the answer. I could go around MLS and look at benches of teams of players that are better than Maldonado and that move a lot better than Chiellini. So with that said, just like I think Hollenstedt mentioned yesterday, every year there's a team that goes to a bad stretch of games and people tend to panic, but you just shouldn't, right? Especially when you're a good team that has consistently delivered results. We were talking about in Seattle, man, people were freaking out and they're still not out of that slump just yet, but you could see it. You could see it coming in. So with this LAFC team, is similar. There's things that they got to twitch. There's things that they got to fix, but I have no doubt that they're going to figure it out.
All right. It is that time.
Like I told you, John, we were talking about it earlier. Like, they should have had 3 or 4 against Atlanta. Brad Guzan went complete beast mode in that game.
Oh, yeah.
And this whole entire conversation is different if they drop 3 goals on Atlanta. Like, they really should have if Guzan doesn't absolutely go possessed.
Yeah, no. That's a good point. I mean, they haven't won since CCL, right? But that game was unreal. I mean, I haven't seen a performance like that from a goalkeeper in a very long time. And I will say, though, that a lot of those saves were just a veteran goalkeeper getting big on the box. It's not like he was diving like a bobcat from side to side, right? He wasn't making unbelievable dives, maybe a couple, but it was a great game for Guzan. And yes, that would have maybe changed things around. Then they go to Houston and they eat up 4, deservedly so. And then obviously last night they get deservedly beat by Houston at their home. And that's when a lot of that panic becomes real for fans and maybe some media members around the nation, but I still think that LAFC will figure it out.
People are freaking out in Seattle because you're a point out of first.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean,
must be nice.
That's something that I found unreal and interesting now that I'm doing shows in different cities and with different clubs. Because it feels like everyone feels like it's only happening to them, right? So in Orlando, in Charlotte, right? It's only happening to us. Where are things going? Why we got all these new players? What's going on? Orlando, the exact same thing. In Atlanta with you guys. this wonderful squad with all these superstars, and it's only happening to us. We just can't get it right. We don't know what to expect. And it happens to Seattle as well, right? I mean, and people have different standards, expectations, depending on where their team has been over the last couple of seasons. And that's all right. But at the end of the day, man, you just got to see it beyond that. I mean, Seattle, like you said, people were freaking out. They're still freaking out about, is Raul still the answer? Is Niko too old? Like, what are we doing in the midfield? Hey, you know what? Look, this 3-3 against Charlotte, that was unreal. That was a crazy game. But what you were asking for came. Christian Roldan, first game back, goal. Raul Diaz, first game back, 2 goals. Generating chances by the tons. But what you were doing right, which was defensively, he kind of took a hit. Brian Smetzer, he, admitted that he was a little bit surprised about how wide Charlotte started attacking. Westwood was all over the field, and there were things that weren't expecting. But at the end of the day, if you look at the forest and not the tree right in front of you, you'll see that the talent is there, the potential is there, that the work is there, and it's just going to come.
All right, it's that time. It is that time where we stare at the stoplight.
By the way, Ladero, speaking as an outsider, Ladero can stay as long as he damn well pleases. If a dude came into my club and put in that kind of work for that long and rescued us from the depths of hell that one year and just kept doing work, Ladero can stay as long as he wants. I'm etching his name into the bar stool.
Did you say Ladero?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know the crazy part is that here, there's people trying to get him out. Oh, he's done. Get him out. We should have got rid of him 2 years ago. And I'm like, man, this guy just brought you a CCL 2 years ago. What are you talking about, man? And what he does on the field, away from just passing and scoring, because yes, he hasn't gotten the back of the net this year very often, but the amount of space he covers, the leadership he provides, the in-between passes that he constantly put in, not to mention that, yes, he'll have a fluctuating type of performances because at his age, he has to do that. But when that man is on, in the moments that you need him, he's going to be a difference maker. So I'm with you. I would keep him here for at least another 2 years. Obviously, you have to figure out the contract. Obviously, you try to get him off that DP contract, but I would love to keep him here.
Who's your red light this week?
Red light. Let me get a red light. The red light teams this season are kind of like all the same, right? And I didn't want to go to Houston, and I'm glad I didn't because they look good. So, Jared, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Not making me look silly. So we'll go with Inter Miami, man. As this team sits and puts the tents across the airport and waits for Lionel Messi, the savior, to finally actually make this contract real, because we haven't said that just yet, right? We've been talking about Messi and super friends, but we still need to secure Messi, right? So I think they're just waiting for that. But this team, man, it's just hard to watch sometimes, man. And you're talking about depth. At New England Revolution, without Kamal Miller, without Negri, man, this team looked like a disarray. I mean, it was just difficult to watch. They had maybe 20 minutes of decent soccer, not good soccer, decent soccer, and then it all falls apart. Coco John out for the season now. Another player, to Mota, to Gregory. Man, they are just in a very difficult moment. I love that Bruce at the post-game conference talks about if Messi was here, he would have been a challenge. Even with Messi, they would have still ate 3 goals. Maybe Messi makes it 3-2. But, man, it was just difficult to watch. There's just no defensive ability to hold the one-on-one. There's very little generated. When it comes to transition, it almost feels like people are putting balls into space and hoping that somebody gets to the end of it, whether it's Taylor on one side or, you're hoping that Joseph does something with it. But, man, this team is about as red as it gets at the moment. Another team that I think could figure it out at some point, but I don't even know if they'll have enough for the playoffs if this injury thing doesn't stop, man. I mean, that's 3 key players for you that are now gone. So even if you bring Messi and you bring a couple of other players, those are players that ain't coming back, man. So you're going to have to rely on these young players, right? Against the New England Revolution, they started four out of the starting 11 were either 20 years or younger in this squad, because that's all they have, man. I'm still not sold on Kremoski. I'm really not. So I just think that this team has very little to go off of, and it's about this taking in water and water and water. And that messy island, man, I don't know if you're going to get to it before the playoffs. I really don't. I mean, he'll be here, but is he going to get you to that playoffs? I just don't know.
Light, who is it?
We talked about this last year, and I know a lot of people said it last year when Insigne got to Toronto. The common refrain was, Insigne ain't fixing all this. And Messi ain't fixing all of Miami. Like, Gregory missing is a huge deal. Look at the way they were early in the season when he was healthy. Look last year when he got the armband, the way they played late in the season when he was healthy. They don't have a guy with a war paint on his face in the middle of the field. Also, you're going to have somebody protect Messi when he gets in this league, because I don't know if y'all watched any of the Argentina-Australia game this morning. Messi still lives in his bag, and he is going to get chopped down, and you're going to have some warfare on the field. You're going to have somebody protect him. Aside from Miami, give me the Galaxy without Chicharito, because look, I mean, they pulled the trigger on ownership or on management where they should have. But then Chicharito going down was just injury to insult at this point. I don't even know where to begin with putting the Galaxy back together, and I don't even know if they know where to begin.
Yeah, and they claimed this draw at St. Louis as a win. I mean, they were just excited to get it. It was in the right direction. That's another one where St. Louis City, man, they could have put that game away. There's one play where I think it's Indiana Vasilev catches him on a negligent ball in midfield. He gets ahead. He's going straight right at the goal. And then Cáceres catches up. And then Cáceres gets his ankles broken. I mean, that man has no idea where he's going. And then he doesn't put it away. If Vasilev just takes a little bit of time and puts it where he needs to put it, that would have been a 2-1 win for the home team in that one. So I don't know what they're celebrating. I'm totally with you. No Chicharito, no hard, as they would say in the replacements, right? You need to win, and you don't have that without Chicharito Hernandez. So, yeah, I'm with you in there.
Wow, a Jimmy McGinty reference. Okay, who's
Jimmy
your yellow light?
McGinty. Love me some Jimmy McGinty. Yellow light, I'm going to solidify Houston. I was doubter. I was getting ready to put them in the red, and they reached 6 wins at home. They just won their first game away from home at LAFC, which is incredible. They are looking dangerous. Like what Jose Quiñones is doing. This is a guy that's on a loan from Once Caldas. He's a prospect. He's one of those guys that Pat Onstad talked about, getting some younger players and prospects and things. Are they going to keep him? That loan is up here at June 1st, if I'm not mistaken. July 1st. So are they going to keep him? Are they going to renew him? That's going to be interesting to watch. Love what Bert's doing over there. Love Ivan Franco. Franco Escobar, away from that golazo that he had against LAFC in the previous game. He's just been good. He puts the ball in good positions. He's solid defensively. He doesn't get way too high. So there's a lot of good pieces in this Houston team that make me just put him as a solid yellow, like a solid yellow that, depending on how things go for them, could start to get into the green category. I still need to see quite a few things from him, but I keep him as a solid yellow.
Jarrett, yellow light.
I still don't know if Ben Olsen is that guy to get them all the way to the promised land, or if he's just a transition coach to get them out of hell. But it's been cool to see, because Houston being fun is fun for the league. Give me my yellow light, and a less optimistic yellow light. Give me New York City FC. Look, Tati's coming back. Tati ain't walking through that door, though. Tati going right back out somewhere else where Citigroup can make a mint off of him. But Parks is banged up now, too, and they just have not seemed to be able to get out of first gear, much less second gear, for more than a couple games at a time. And look, the East is just brutal this year. And there's a lot of bodies. And it's a similar kind of thing that what Atlanta had last year. You're injured, you're starting to fall back in the pack. And it's not so much that, like, you can look at it and say, oh, we're at a certain point, we might be 4 points out of a playoff spot. Yeah, but there might be 5 other bodies between you and that playoff spot. And it's just a really messy place to be in. And New York City just cannot seem to find anything that is resembling consistency.
All right. So then that leaves one light on the stoplight, and that means it's green. So who's your green light there, Niko?
Green light, green light. Let me get a green light. It's kind of like the same teams up top in green. There's some green teams. There's some teams that might look green, but not to this guy right here. So I'm going to give it to Columbus. I'm going to give it to the Columbus Crew. They're coming off of incredible win with a 60-yard shot from Salarayan, but they are the most entertaining club to watch this season. I don't miss a game. I mean, thanks to the MLS Pass, man, I watch them every week, whether it's live or 1 a.m. when my wife is sleeping, or a Sunday at 8 in the morning with a good cup of coffee and some huevos rancheros on me. I literally watch this team every week, and they're just fun to watch, man. You got to love oh my goodness, Wilfred Nancy. Just the smile on his face after that goal just tells me that he's just proud of this group, right? Of what he's been able to accomplish, right? That's not what he wanted. That's not how he drew it up to get that win, right? But he got it. He's excited. He's happy. Cucho Hernandez, I've told you, for me, has the highest potential out of any forward in the league to just do whatever in the hell he wants. 8 consecutive games with contributing some sort of goal or pass. He's another one that's fun to watch. Right before that 60-yard shot, he created a chance on the left side that gets put away, and he gets taken out by an offside. But his relentlessness up top, how incisive, how difficult he is to defend because he's all over the field. And then you add distributor like Salarajan and a perfect Robin to your Batman, or 2 Batmans in Christian Ramirez. I mean, my goodness, this team is just fun to watch up top, not to mention a decent midfield, an upcoming Aiden Morris. So, man, give me Columbus every Saturday for dinner or breakfast or supper. I don't care. Just give them to me, and I'll watch.
Like Jarrett, go.
I thoroughly enjoy watching this team play, Columbus. At some point, we got to start having conversations about Wilfred Nancy getting bigger and bigger gigs outside of MLS as he keeps doing this. You know what? For my green light, and they're not even as high up the table, but give me the team where he was at, because Montreal is 6-1-0 at home this year. They have turned Stade Saputo back into an absolute fortress. Hernan Losada's redemption arc is puttering along here. There's still some stuff they got to clean up. They're still not great on the road, but from what I thought at the beginning of the season, that this was going to be one of the worst teams that we saw in modern memory, Hernan Losada seems like he knows what he's doing. He's getting buy-in because they've got, and most of them are at home. We've got some damn good results at home from a team that I did not think had a prayer. And now Minnesota's a road trip where you are now going in there thinking, hey, we can get a point. Have a pretty good week. But I'm very impressed with what Montreal has done, considering I thought they were going to be an unmitigated tire fire.
I'll tell you what surprised me about Montreal was Mason Toy this weekend. Oh, my Lord. Are you kidding me with that first goal? I didn't think he had it in him like that. I mean, that's a beautiful finish. right over the goalkeeper. And then the fact that he doesn't celebrate it because he's spent a little bit of very frustrating seasons in Minnesota. I got to applaud it. That's classy, man. If that was me and I had it like that with Minnesota, I would have screamed it to the top of my lungs. But, man, it just overall just impressive. That 4-0 win, Mason Toy does 2 goals. Incredible.
All right,
I think it's enough punishment as it is for Inchy, considering he's seen more strikers leave his club and thrive than he's had come in and actually do the job.
Very true. Very true.
All right, Niko, what's going on at Pulso Sports in the Soccer Bar?
All right. So Soccer Bar, we're going to be starting off here 1 p.m. Pacific. Obviously, we're going to talk about Nations League. We're going to do a deeper dive probably onto Panama and Canada. In that one, we're going to have a little bit more time today with the short schedule in MLS. We are going to talk a little bit about the Seattle Sounders, maybe have some word from today's training session. See if we could talk to one of the protagonists here today at Starfire. And then in Pulso Sports, clearly we're going to be having, we're going to have next week a really good interview that we're going to break down between Pulso and Soccer Bar. I won't give you the name, but he's a Columbus Crew player. So it's going to be a good one. So check that out. Hopefully by Monday, it'll be up.
Looking forward to it. El Rolo NW, the Soccer Bar, and at Sports Pulso. Niko, my friend, as always, great to have you for Thursdays with Niko. We'll catch up with you again next week.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Niko Moreno, as always, he's going to go find his coffee now. Find his coffee. And now, all right, so this is out this morning, and I don't know if you've had the chance to see it, Jarrett. Doug Robertson reporting that Atlanta United's going to have a third kit, likely late August. A collab with Atlanta influences everything.
Just make it the Olympic kit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because
just make it like the white and the olive color.
Yeah, and you've got Tom, who has posted the old, I mean, like I said, it looks like the old 96 with the leaves inside from the 96 Olympics and things like that. Very, very cool looking work there. And so very, very cool stuff from, I like that. I really do. I like that. So go to at Airborne DJ and take a peek at what it could be. And yeah, I mean, the folks at AIE, I've got an incredible amount of stuff from them. Trust me. And it will be, if that's it, that's going to be pretty cool. All right. Before we go, once again, 6:45, Atlanta United 2, Columbus Crew 2 on the network pregame show. And game with Jason is at 7 o'clock on the network. And once again, Sunday, from York Lions Stadium, York University. It'll be Atlanta United 2 and Toronto FC 2 here on the network. So we'll keep you posted on all of that stuff. So on TV today, we didn't even get into a whole lot of the news. Today, obviously the big stuff is the doubleheader late. CBS Sports Network has Panama, Canada at 7, Spain and Italy. That is at 2:45 on FS1 in the Nations League semifinals. 2TN has the doubleheader, Panama, Canada, USA, Mexico, as does Univision. MLS Season Pass has 5 matchups in MLS Next Pro. Golasso Network had the Argentina-Australia friendly. MLS Next Pro tonight at 8. Paramount Plus, 3 games in the Argentine Primera, 2 games in the Brazilian Brasileiro, and the CONCACAF semis. VIX has Spain and Italy at 2:45. So that's your viewing for today. And that's a show. Remember, tomorrow, 8 o'clock start time, because they kick us out of the cabin at 10. So 8 o'clock starts Weekend Whip Around, gets through all the news. Hopefully Bart Keeler will be at 10 o'clock tonight. And then at 9:30, our friends from Beyond Goals. And then that'll be a show. And we'll do it again on Sunday night with a match. And then Monday where we talk about it all over again. So once again, thanks to Niko. Thanks to you. Thanks to Jared. Thanks for putting up with me here in the mountains. It's the end of the show, so that means we get to do one thing and one thing only. We get to roll the close. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Set your notifications. Bye.